issue a proclamation of a state of emergency. This will only be an emergency meeting, and our board attorney will tell you the reason why we're actually identifying this as a emergency meeting, not a state of emergency. Crystal.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're doing it unofficially.
Okay.
But unless you think we need to do it officially, she's just telling them the reason why we're not calling it something, as opposed to it being, when we actually go into session, we're going to say this is an emergency.
Because we had it printed as such, we probably didn't.
Okay. Well, let me call the meeting to order, then we'll go from there. You ready? The emergency meeting of the Adams County Board of Supervisors will now come to order. And we'll start our emergency meeting off by stating that the purpose of this particular meeting is not for a proclamation of a state of emergency, but the meeting will be held as an emergency meeting in accordance with law. And the reason for us taking this particular action is because of the extraordinary circumstances of this morning. But I would like the board attorney to identify why we're calling this or identifying this as an emergency meeting as opposed to a proclamation of a state of emergency.
Thank you, Supervisor Graham. Initially, when this issue came up under 3315(5)(g), the definition of local emergency means to duly proclaim existence of conditions of disaster or extreme peril to the safety of persons and property within the territorial limits of a county and or municipality caused by such conditions as air or water pollution, fire, flood, storm, epidemic, earthquake, hurricane, resource shortages, or other natural or man-made conditions, which conditions are or likely to be beyond the control of the services, personnel, equipment, and facilities of the political subdivision and require the combined forces of other subdivisions or of the state to combat. After talking with the Attorney General's office, I was able to determine that while they would not give a definitive opinion as to whether this could be considered a local state of emergency, they actually stated that it would be a factual determination for the board. So there is a question of fact that the board would have to determine. But however, if the situation is under control, then it would lean towards not declaring a formal or local state of emergency.
Now you know why I'm not a lawyer. Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. We'll now go to the board attorney for our agenda, and from that particular point, we'll go directly into the items on the agenda. Mrs. Davis?
Yes, sir. Just to give a briefing as to the issues that are before you today. As you know, there was circumstances occurred at the Raymond Detention Center that called for a special, emergency meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We do have the sheriff who is on his way. He will give the board a briefing as to the circumstances that occur and update and the issues that are at hand. He should be in any second. We do have two items on your agenda for discussion and consideration, and I believe the sheriff should be walking in.
Okay. Sheriff, good afternoon. The item on the agenda is, we've just started the meeting, and the item on the agenda is relating to the incident that occurred this morning. So if you would like to just come forward and just go ahead and brief us at this point as to the situation, we'll go from there. There are only two items on the agenda, and it's both dealing with the events of this morning, which for the time is July, or the date is July 30th, 2012. I did not get the official time that we started.
2:40.
2:40. Okay, all right. So we'll turn it over to the sheriff and the undersheriff. We'll go from there.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This morning at the Raymond Detention Center, sometime between 2:30 and 3 o'clock this morning, we received a call about a disturbance in C-Pod at the Raymond Detention Center. Well, we found out that the detention officers was doing a security check, And as they were going through their security check, checking the doors to make sure that they were all secure and all the inmates were in their particular cells. We ran across one individual that wanted to become combative and not cooperate. In the meantime, it was determined to put him in another cell because the cell that he was assigned to was not functional or had some issues about keeping it locked. In the process of putting him in another cell, isolation cell, he managed to get out, and the investigation is still going on, and get back into the housing unit that he was assigned to, and retrieve a water hose, and began to flood the whole pod with that water, as well as let the other inmates out. With that being done, the other detention officers were trying to get themselves out because of the flood, and that's when the other inmates were able to get into the control panel and release the other housing units, which gave access to the Central Patrol Unit to the other pods. So, as it stands now, we do have total control of that pod. We have called in, or we were able to work with the surrounding agencies with their SWAT teams to include Madison, Raymond, Rankin, Mississippi Highway Patrol, Mississippi Department of Corrections, and Flowood PD to come up with a plan to go in and overtake that particular pod. At 12:27, we were able to enter that pod without resistance, and now we have total control of it.
Okay. We'll entertain questions. We'll start with Ms. Calhoun, and then we'll go to the other items on the agenda. But Ms. Calhoun?
I just want to make a comment, and I think most of my questions have been answered, but I want to thank all of the SWAT team members that came to our aid, as well as all the counties that have offered us assistance. These SWAT team agencies, counties, have been more than cooperative. And I think they recognize that we were in need of help. And so from my heart to theirs, I just want to say personally, officially, that I really appreciate them.
Supervisor Fisher?
Sheriff, could you talk a little bit about the numbers of inmates that were involved and what their status is now and where they're going to be for the next couple of days while the issues that are in Pod C are addressed?
Yes, sir. Supervisor Fisher, there was a total of 183 inmates in that particular pod. And we're talking about C-pod. Where we are now with them, they're doing a head count to determine, to make sure that everybody is there and accounted for. That process is going on as we speak. We have been offered the services of the Madison County Sheriff Department as well as the Rankin County, the assistance of the Rankin County Sheriff Department to house temporarily some of the inmates that we have to transfer. We do have some bed space at our location in D pod. We're looking at about 30 available spaces in that particular area. But we are going to have to move these individuals to these other locations temporarily.
So do you have a place tonight for everyone?
Yes. Sheriff Randy Tucker is out there on the premises as we speak, as well as Sheriff Brian Bailey from Rankin County is out there on the premises as we speak. They have their transportation units out there waiting for these inmates to be classified what their charges are, and determine who's going to go where at what particular time. So they will be transferred sometime today.
Okay, Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sheriff, I guess I start off with the young man, one of the gentlemen who, I think last night, they said he was combative and would not cooperate. Was he not a misdemeanor? Was he a misdemeanor inmate?
The information that we got, Supervisor Stokes, he was in on felony drug charges, as well as contempt of court.
Okay, well, we heard marijuana, and I don't know what felonies mean, but the point I'm making is, something I said before, is that the city of Jackson need their own misdemeanor holding facility. And I say it again, and I know Chief Shirley Anderson tried to establish their misdemeanor holding facility. And we've heard back and forth between the city of Jackson and the board that this and that and that and this. Now, dealing with reality that we have now, are we going to be able to take in the city of Jackson detainees, I guess that's the best word to use, people who are arrested by the city of Jackson today and tonight, will they be able to go to the jail?
I got a chance to do a walkthrough of CPOD supervisors, and it's totally destroyed. There's no way that we can house anybody in CPOD, which means we were already at our capacity in that facility. So to answer your question, we're not going to be able to take anybody at this time with conditions of CPOD that crippled us from taking individuals from anywhere else.
Period.
Yes.
And do we have an idea of how long it's going to be like that? It's undetermined.
In my professional opinion, as doing a walkthrough with the SWAT team of CPOD, it's going to be long term. Everything is destroyed. The ceiling in the control room is totally taken out. The control board is totally demolished. We had to send the SWAT team in to actually cut the doors and take them off the hinges in order to gain access. So you're talking about long term. It's going to have to take someone else to come in and do a proper assessment to determine the longevity of that.
Okay. Now, keeping in mind that C-Pod is now out of operation, and now correct me, I'm learning these pods. We have A and B. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And are they full currently?
Yes. We have in B pod we have some bed spacing, and that's going to be filled with some of the individuals coming out of C pod.
So that means
that would fill it to capacity.
what is the role of now the county in terms of where would the city of Jackson people that they arrest go now?
You mean the ones coming out of C-Pod?
No, I'm talking about if they arrest somebody today.
They would have to make a decision as to where they would take their prisoners.
Who would have to make that decision?
The city of Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chaplain. And I said all along that the city need to have their own facility. And now it's at that point now where they're going to have to make some decision. Finally, and I guess our legal people have to guide us because they might want to take the position that we have a contract. But this is not a violation in the contract because, number one, this was an emergency. We're forced to take these steps. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll come back.
Okay. One of the things I would like to say, Sheriff, is once a year we're supposed to have a mock scenario as part of our emergency plan. I didn't know that it was going to be a reality as of today. But this also forces the city of Jackson, other municipalities, to have to make some decisions, as well as the board of supervisors. We have some very tough decisions that we're going to have to make here today because, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, that they some of the some surrounding municipalities who are giving us unprecedented support. Madison County, Rankin County have really, really helped us. Supervisor Calhoun said, but I know that they cannot help us indefinitely. So someone's going to have to pay for these prisoners. And I think that's one of the decisions that's going to be facing us today is how do we get beyond this particular point. We know that there are other means such as field releasing and also by putting alternative means of incarceration on these other individuals. Ankle bracelets or leg bracelets, house arrest is what I'm trying to say. I notice it's going to be one thing that we need to do. So is it highly recommended at this point? Or what do you, we know this is ultimately going to be a decision of the judges, but we need to devise some type of plan, or there needs to be some type of plan as to, like Supervisor Stokes stated, where do we go from today?
I recommend all the above, Mr. President, to include the house arrest. Of course, there needs to be a fair assessment done on those individuals that have high medical costs that can be evaluated through that program to determine whether or not to be on house arrest. So I think that is a great alternative and another option.
Okay. I'll go back to Supervisor Calhoun. Supervisor Fisher.
Sheriff, can you review, if you're able at this time, and it may be too early, how many inmates are going to Rankin County and Madison County or to the other facilities? And then how many would you propose based on assessment? And like I say, maybe too early for you to tell me this, that we can put on house arrest and in there so that we can see the whole total numbers that we're talking about. I think you said it was 183.
Yes, it's still in review. Mr. Supervisor, I can tell you that Madison County is going above and beyond to accommodate us. They started off with allocating 48 beds, but now they are willing to increase that as needed. We don't have the number of beds that Rankin County is willing to accommodate us with, but that assessment is still going on as they are moving individuals out of Part C to look at their classification, look at their charges, and give a good overview of their medical situation as well. But the total was 183.
Okay.
But we have to factor in a lot of things, as I just named, to make that decision as to who goes where and who stays and who's released on house arrest or what have you.
And the process for the house arrest, X number of people are eligible for house arrest. What would be the next step with that? I mean, how do they get the ankle bracelets and then go to their home or wherever they're going? I mean, how does that exactly happen?
That's something that I would want to defer to the judges, Mr. Supervisor, if you don't mind. I know that there are some here. I see a couple of them in the audience. I think they can best explain that program better than I can, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. But basically, the ankle bracelets put on them, and then a family member comes and picks them up, and then they are monitored, and they have to stay within so many feet of their home. Or
If you don't mind, Supervisor Bishop, I asked our board attorney to make sure that she included the judges in on this because we knew this was an eventuality. So, Crystal, do you want to tell us, or do you want to refer to one of the judges at this point, or?
We also have Mr. Robert Johnson here, who the county has a contract with to provide ankle bracelets.
We can defer to him if you'd like, whichever way you'd like to do that.
Sure, I would definitely defer to Mr. Johnson with regard to the fine details, but I would like the board to know that I did make contact with the senior circuit court judge, and the judges are ready and willing to accommodate the county in any way necessary with regard to this process.
Okay. I see Judge Gowan is here. Judge Gowan, I don't know, and Judge Green. Judge Gowan, Judge Green, would you like to comment on this right quick, or anything that you would have to say regarding this issue?
Yes, the court has been contacted by the county attorney and the attorney for the sheriff's department, and we're in the process of developing an order that would allow us to review and assess the prisoners as to whether they are eligible for house arrest. Again, probation services has been contracted by the county. They have an asset assessment mechanism in place that will give us the kind of guidance that will allow us to assist somewhat in the release of nonviolent offenders or offenders that have imposed no risk of safety to the community. That will free up some beds, hopefully, for the county in those pods or that pod that has had some problems. Additionally, I've also talked with the city of Jackson and conferred with legal there in terms of the judges in the city. They also want to be cooperative for any new arrests. They will be assessed for house arrest or monitoring, and with the city for ROR. So we should be able to relieve the county of the misdemeanors in that regard. That will be a general order based on the emergency situation that will allow the sheriff to work with us on that.
Okay, thank you
And
very
we
much.
can do that tonight until we get as many people released as the sheriff needs to have released.
Okay, thank you very much. That kind of tells us a little bit where we're, that tells us a lot where we need to go. But the problem that we don't know at this particular point is how many that's going to free up. Let me go back to Supervisor Fisher. Supervisor Fisher.
Do we have any idea what a maximum number is that we can release the house arrest?
Let me just ask this. I would ask that the sheriff at least allow probation services and the judge to get with the sheriff. And if we could meet back in the morning, let us work through the evening, get with the sheriff. I think Supervisor Fisher, we can give you a number because we don't want to release numbers and have people thinking we're releasing unsafe individuals.
Well, I understand.
The community will be safe, but we'll work through tonight if we have to. But we'll make sure that there's sufficient release so that the jail will be operational. I have suspended any proceedings until we've got everything in hand, till we can accommodate the sheriff to make sure that everything is taken care of and that we're all safe. But let's try to give us this evening and let us give you a number in the morning.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Judge. Okay, we'll go back to Supervisor Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I think it's time for the hard questions time to be answered in terms of the, I think you may have made a statement about there's no way that we can think, hope that Madison and Rankin County will house our inmates for help. So it's time now out of the county administrator or someone to find some beds, and what that's going to take is it's going to have to get the county administrator to make calls throughout the state, and let's find some long-term beds, because what I'm hearing today from the sheriff is that this is going to be a long-term problem in terms of getting it fixed. From talking to the county administrator earlier, we got to deal with insurance and trying to get money to make the necessary repairs, and someone to tell how much it's going to be to make the repairs. I don't see this being repaired and this probably being fixed in a week or two. It's going to take months, and we hope it don't go into at least a year. So between then and there, we need to make sure we have a permanent place. And I know sometime back the city had entered a contract with some different counties to house some inmates. I think maybe during Ditto time, was it Ditto, one of them, I forget which one it was. But we got to get us somewhere to house our inmates long term, and we need to think about money now, because we're going to have to end up paying those other counties. Now, I'm not saying we appreciate Madison, we appreciate Rankin, but we don't want to wear our welcome. We don't want them to say, okay, that's long enough, y'all got to get them out of here, and we don't have anywhere prepared. So I'm saying we need to think long term what we're going to do. Now, we can get some of them released on house arrest and those kind of things, but some of them some bad boys, and you're not going to get house arrest for them. Where we're going to put them, and I think that's where we got to go now, think solution-wise. And I'm hoping that we can find somewhere in Mississippi. I'm hoping now. But if all the jails are full, then you're going to have to look in terms of Louisiana. What are you talking about, the New Orleans area? Are you talking about over the river around Rayville or somewhere? But we got to make sure we have a long-term plan as to where we're going to put the inmates until we can get this fixed, and that's not going to be fixed overnight. And then you got to deal with the issue of transportation and transporting them wherever you're going to take them to. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I will say that Supervisor Calhoun has made contact with the mayor of the city of Jackson, and he has been made aware, and he also knows that there's going to be a cost, and Supervisor Fisher has contacted the Mayor of Clinton. We've tried to make sure that we keep everybody in the loop as to what was occurring this morning. So people know that we're dealing with something that we haven't had to deal with before, and so we're kind of working our way through this. And I said that to say that we just really don't know where we are right now. And I want to go back to the sheriff to see if there's any other suggestions as it relates to whether or not, if we were to get several groups or several groups of individuals into Pod C, if the supervisors are willing to get several groups to come in to work, could it be at a minimum operational in a week or so?
No. And you would have to see it to believe it, Mr. President. I wanted to make sure I had a good visual outlook on that space before I came to this meeting, and that's what I did. It is not in any condition to do anything with in the next week or so.
Okay. Well, are there any other questions from the board?
One final
Mr.
one.
Stokes?
Mr. President, Sheriff, under your estimation, if we found some money, and I hate the idea of how long it might take the insurance company to come to the help, but if we found some money and we worked day and night, night and day, what would you estimate? How long would you estimate if we can get parts in time and those kind of things? How long do you estimate it might take to even get it?
You asking me to give an opinion that I don't have the expertise in. And let me make sure you understand this. A pod is broken out in 4 housing units. And if possible, they could probably get a housing unit up and running, but it won't be in a short period of time. I mean, you got electrical problems. You got to find a new console. You got to replace the roof. You got to replace doors that have been cut through in order to gain access. I would not want to give you that estimate, not being an expert or professional in that field. I would recommend that you call in some experts that have a track record of rehabilitating facilities such as jails and prisons, as well as those that have a track record of building jails and prisons, and to get a good assessment and professional assessment from them, as well as look at their track record.
Thank you.
Sheriff, would you say that the majority of the issues in that particular pod, is it electrical, or just give me a visual idea as to what happened? I mean, it's electrical. I'm assuming that they tore the ceiling down, that they destroyed the electrical work in the pods. What else are we not seeing?
You're not seeing a lot. You're not seeing a total ceiling that's gone. You're seeing electrical wires hanging down. That is a hazard, not only in the pod itself, but out throughout the different cell blocks. They not only destroyed the control area, but they destroyed the cells in the area that they are housed in. It looks like Katrina went through CPOD. It's just totally damaged and destroyed. If you can visualize what Katrina looked like, then that's what Pod C looks like. You got to keep in mind they had access to pipes. They had access to take the metal out of the ceiling to go around and just beat the board to pieces, as well as just snatch wires out of the wall. And then the SWAT team had to go in with the saw to disfigure the doors in order to get in. This is not going to be a short-term fix.
Will the inmates have to suffer consequences of their actions?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
The inmates that were involved in the total destruction of Pop City?
Well, we're going to do a in-house investigation and try to determine who were all the aggressors were. And after making that determination, I think we need to look at applying some additional charges. If that's what you mean, as far as consequences, yes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Stokes?
could we do a field visit today to get some idea?
I would highly recommend that. In the process of doing that, since we have all the units on site, we are planning on doing a total shakedown of that facility while we have all these SWAT teams on site to see if we can find some other weapons throughout that facility to make it safe.
About, I guess, the time, and I hope Mr. Harrington will be out there with us to explain some things to us. Maybe about 4:35. Which time would be better for y'all? Share about 4 or 5? 5? Y'all looking for?
We can go now. I want you to see this. I really do. Whatever time y'all determine that you're available, we are available. As a matter of fact, we have people out there now still doing the process.
Okay.
I think 4 o'clock.
That'll be fine.
4. Okay.
Let me ask the board at this particular point, as it relates to issues that we're going to have regarding money, which is ultimately what we're going to have to deal with. Is there any board member that has any suggestions, alternatives, options that we are going to be faced with? I know Ms. Woods, or do we need to make sure that the county administrator and the finance director, do we need to direct them to do anything at this particular point as it relates to what we need or what we're going to need, or it's just in a holding pattern at this point?
I'll be ready.
With Mr. Callen, then we go to Mr. Stokes and Mr. Bishop.
Now that we are in the process of preparing our fiscal year budget for 2012-2013, it provides an opportune time for us to look at issuing a bond to address some of the monetary issues that we have with the jail. As the sheriff and I talked this morning, and I asked him, do you think we need to build a new facility? Or is the facility that we have in disrepair where we can go in and rehab? And of course, his answer was he is not the expert, but he is in the process of researching to find individuals that are the experts in jail repairs or building a new jail. So I think once he brings that individual in and we get a good assessment of what all our problems are, and we can go from there by issuing a bond as well as bidding for construction or rehabbing of the current jail facility that we have.
Okay, all right. Mr. Stokes?
Mr. President, I'm ready to make a motion that we get the county administrator and Ms. Willis full authority to try to assess any funds that we have available and ideas of other monies we can out of borrow, trying to think of a good word for it, tax, so to speak, any monies that we can use to make sure we make the necessary repairs to the current jail in a timely manner. And I think that's the key word, timely manner, because if we procrastinate too long, then you'll be a year and a half out And as Councilmember Calhoun was saying, we need to talk about building the new jail by then, but we got to create some kind of room in this jail now, because we're gonna have to pay someone to hold our inmates, because we're just not gonna be able to field release and house arrest enough inmates to make sure that this jail is not put back in the position it was in. So I so move that we give the county administrator, Ms. Woods, the authority to try to find and access any monies that we can use to make the necessary repairs to Part C of the jail in a timely manner.
Supervisor Stokes, I'm going to second your motion. However, I think those repairs are so extensive that we're going to have to, and I hate to use the word, borrow monies to repair the jail. That's our only other option. We do not have in our current budget funds available to repair all of our needs.
But now, the motion I made would include with the borrowing also.
But I mean outside, external, not from inner loan. I'm sorry, I was thinking you meant inner loan.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
Any way they can find that we can get money in a timely manner to make those necessary repairs, whatever it takes, whether it's borrowing and whatever else. We're going to give them the green light to do the research, Mr. President, so that they can bring back to us the suggestions they need for us to vote on.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and now I'd like to go to Mr. Fisher now for remarks.
I was just going to suggest that we have to bond money that we're putting out to bid for the roof and the other repairs, that might be money that we could deflect now to this project and get CPOD running and then fill back in with those at a later date, as Ron was suggesting, which based on the motion gives you the time to look at that option.
If I
Yes, go ahead.
we certainly will do that. I do have a question. Seeing that was a board action to use those funds for bond money to use for specific repairs, that it may take board action to now alter that list. But first, I would suggest if you allow me to do an assessment, and then if necessary, we'll come back and
To
address
the next board meeting, next Monday, if you can probably by then have some sort of idea. But I think the fact is the money will be coming, so we need to bring in the assessment process that needs to go through. So,
Mr. President, excuse me, Ms. Fisher, if I may say, piggyback off what Supervisor Calhoun was stating, we do have a company coming in tomorrow called LaSalle Corrections. They will come in to do an assessment of their facility on tomorrow. We have talked with White Construction as well, and they are prepared to do the same thing.
And they are experts.
Yes.
Well, I know they are.
Yes.
They are experts.
Let me just ask a question there.
Before you move on, we just want to advise the board that the opening of these bids are going to be this Wednesday. So we'll just open them and take them on advisement and make a people go to that.
Okay. What I'd like to do is, we have a motion and a second, but I think that there's a question that we have to answer, and I think it's one that I actually really don't know who is the correct person to answer this question, other than the sheriff and maybe the judges, is what do we tell the city of Jackson that has a felony shoplifter today what to do? I think we need to leave here with some semblance of a plan or something. Or how do we address that today? Do you? Because one of the things that we did, the chief of Jackson wanted to know what to tell her individual officers as it relates to today.
If you ask me, they will have to do an assessment themselves and to call around the state of Mississippi to see who will work with them to take those individuals. We just cannot do it in our present condition.
Okay. Any other suggestions from any other supervisor as to what we need? I think that we need to tell the mayors and the chiefs of these municipalities, the reality of the situation, the gravity of the situation, or something else? Any other suggestions?
I think the sheriff has said it all.
Okay, Mr. Fisher?
Ready to vote on that?
Okay. All those in favor of it?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Greta, would you read what the motion was so everyone would be very clear with the motion?
Resolved to authorize the county administrator and the budget and finance coordinator to access any funds available to make the necessary repairs in a timely manner. Necessary repairs at the Raymond Detention Center Pod C, or CPOD.
Mr. President,
Mr. Stark?
the issue you brought up about the city of Jackson is a real issue. But the sheriff hit the nail on the head when he said, you know, I'm here for food right now, just trying to deal with what we got in front of us. I would hope, and I've seen the city go through this before, and that's the same thing they did as the sheriff stated. They contacted other jurisdictions who had jail space, and we leased that space for a certain period of time, and we had to pay. Now that's where the issue gonna come to. The city of Jackson had to put up some money. That's what you've been seeing all the time. You try to meet with other municipalities, not just Jackson's, all municipalities, but you try to meet with them and say, sooner or later, everybody got to pay, and they're gonna see exactly what Hines County been going through.
Today, that day is here today. So I don't know what other issues that we have to discuss other than the fact that it is going to be a transportation issue for those municipalities. So it's just the reality of the situation. So are there any other issues that we need to discuss other than the fact that Sheriff will? I do know that we will come today. We will, I think everybody wants to see it for themselves today. And we'll leave it up to you about the other issues that it has to be as you and the legal advisors relates to other issues surrounding this. Crystal.
Mr. President, I would like to advise the board that it would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act for all supervisors to go and tour the facility at the same time. You would have to declare an open meeting or go two at a time.
We'll go two at a time, and we'll make sure we're not all there at the same time, or we can hide or something. It's something that we're going to really have to do, and I think it's something that I think every supervisor really wants to do, because we're going to have to make even more tougher choices as it relates to this. Ms. Galvin?
Generally, if we can declare that it will be an open meeting, and media, I'm sure, will accompany us, and everybody that wants to accompany us. I believe we can do it. It's not going to be a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
You can definitely declare an open meeting, and it can actually be a continuation of the meeting that's taking place now.
Right.
So it's really within the discretion of the supervisor how we would like to have it.
I just think that we need to, at this point, discuss with the sheriff as to whether or not it should be accessible to everyone. I know at some point you're going to want to let the media see it, but that's up to the sheriff, I would think, as to whether or not you want anyone to view it today or not. Or
if I may, if we can all agree, I don't have a problem with the media coming along, as long as it's supervised in a proper manner. If it's okay with you all.
Any board member have a problem with that?
I don't.
Okay. Well, do we need to make
You
that a part?
enter at your own risk.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But
Do we
I
need
think
to
they're aware
make
of
that a
that.
part of any of this meeting other than the fact that it has been stated that they will be allowed to come along with this? Just make sure that is recorded.
Just for this, Mark.
Yes, it would need to be part of it.
Now, do you want to recess this meeting and then continue it there, or do you want to cancel or adjourn this meeting and then reopen another one later.
You would need to recess this meeting and re-adjourn at the detention facility.
Okay, the time is now 3:25. So with suggestions from the supervisors, you want to reconvene the meeting at what time?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. We'll reconvene the meeting at the conference room. Sheriff, is anything specific you want the media to do other than show credentials before they are allowed to enter?
That's correct. We will have somebody waiting at the front entrance to identify them with their credentials.
Okay.
We will go ahead and have you all in the conference room and brief you out before they come in.
Okay. I also would like to make sure that if you wanted to extend it to any of the judges, of course, they're allowed to come in.
I would like to extend it to the judges as well as to the chief and his group.
Chief Johnson.
Yes.
And the city, if you would, Sheriff, I see from the legal department, Attorney Anderson is here. I hope someone would go from the city to report to them. I know they were in a meeting. I don't know if the council, president of the council or someone to come, but someone from the city.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. Judge Gowan, the sheriff was also appropriate, the judges, if they would like to accompany or come to see the damage that's been done, that's okay with the sheriff and everything. And we kind of welcome to make sure that everyone knows exactly the gravity of what we're dealing with. So, Brett, if you will give me the time again, we will adjourn the meeting at recess. I'm sorry. So the meeting is now recessed at 3:26.
One other matter, the Chancellor Clerk.
Right. Yeah, that's the present everything. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
It's going to require court order.